Hey, it's Josh, and I have my EMS shirt on, which means it's time for some paramedic talk again. It's been quite a while since I made one of these EMS videos, and part of the problem is the book I'm writing about my life and my 16-year paramedic career is moving along at a snail's pace, to be generous about it. It's the problem with time, you see, between the family stuff I have and the household work. Most of the rest of my time after that is devoted to writing scripts for videos and recording videos and editing videos and doing all the work that is required to keep a YouTube channel going. So I don't have a ton, I have almost no time left to do any serious writing. But today I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you one of these true stories. This isn't a serious discussion about a paramedic-related issue. Rather, it is a story of a call I went on where I got to be a ninja medic. This is what I wrote shortly after I went on that call. In Toronto, we don't have police units called SWAT teams. What would be called a SWAT team in America or on TV is known around here as the Emergency Task Force, or ETF. An admittedly much less sexy name. Anyhow, this one time I was working a day shift as an advanced care paramedic when we were called to accompany the ETF on a raid. That's not the type of thing we would normally do because in Toronto we have our ninja medics. Officially, they're known as Emergency Task Force medics, but we call them ninja medics because instead of the neon splashed reflective high visibility uniforms that all our other paramedics wear, their uniforms are either black or very dark blue, I'm not sure which. Right down to the dark background on their shoulder patches. And then they have the full body armor, including a much heavier helmet than our standard issue plastic paramedic helmets, all of which is in ninja black, of course. These ETF medics are advanced care paramedics who train alongside the ETF police so that they can go in with them on their raids. This is purely speculation on my part, but I imagine that the official reason for the existence of the ETF medics is to be right there on hand in case anybody gets hurt, which is probably different than the likely real reason of being present in case a cop gets shot on the raid, which is probably also different than the reality of what they actually do most of the times they're called into action, which is to pick up the pieces after the cops waste some dude, or perhaps even more frequently, from what I hear, the dude takes himself out. But be that as it may, on this December day, for whatever reason, the ETF medics weren't available, so they had to call us regular old advanced care paramedics. The call came in with very vague info, which included the word confidential. We were apparently to meet the ETF police at the local police station and be briefed with them for a high-risk takedown. When we arrived, we were pointed to a messy office at the back corner of the station, with walls that were adorned with the headshots of several young black males. A large posse of very heavily armed, armored, and muscled cops were lounging in roughly a circle on various items of furniture under fluorescent lights. When everyone had assembled, we were given the rundown by the lead ETF dude. Today's target was apparently a suspect in a number of armed robberies. They had his address and they wanted to get in and grab him. They normally do these types of takedowns at around 4 or 5 a.m. when they can quite literally catch people napping, so I'm not sure why they wanted to do it at 4 o'clock p.m. in broad daylight. Anyhow, the info they had was that the guy lived just a few kilometers from the police station in a 3-story walk-up apartment with his mom and his sister and his gun. The particular challenge they faced with this building was that the balconies ran along the entire length of the exterior of the building. So, if the suspect managed to run out the back door to his balcony, he could then access any of the other apartments or the roof of the building. So they wanted to nab him right quick-like before he could get all Assassin's Creed on them. We were told that we would park our vehicles on the main road that the suspect's apartment was facing, but that we needn't worry about him getting tipped off as to our presence because there were several trees in the grassy area between the apartment and the road which would provide a screen for all of us. So off we paraded in a 7-vehicle caravan containing about 20 cops and us 2 medics. Leading the way was an unmarked minivan with about 5 ETF officers. That was followed by an unmarked SUV with another 5 or so ETF dudes, followed by a police canine unit complete with a beautiful German Shepherd, followed by our ambulance, followed by an unmarked car with around 4 undercover cops in plain clothes, sporting the standard undercover cop uniform of running shoes, jeans, a hoodie, and a baseball cap. And then finally, bringing up the rear, were 2 more regular police cruisers containing 4 uniformed cops. We arrived on scene and parked at the appropriate place in front of the building. Being December, none of our screening trees on the grass strip had a single leaf on them, and we could clearly see the target apartment from where we were parked at the curb, and naturally, anyone in the apartment could clearly see our 7 emergency vehicles. All the cops piled out of their cars into the cold winter afternoon and quickly took up their various positions. The uniformed canine and undercover cops surrounded the exterior of the building, while the ETF cops, armed to the teeth with very big guns, a very big door-busting tool, full-body armor, balaclavas, and helmets, entered the building and clomped up the stairs. We sat in a position of alert readiness in our climate-controlled ambulance. Mere minutes later, the suspect walked out of the building handcuffed, wearing socks, jeans, and a t-shirt, flanked by 2 XXL police officers. He was an 18-year-old little wee runt of a dude, and though he seemed to be rather heavily outnumbered, he was doing what most handcuffed suspects seem to do, which is to say, being chock full of the fearless bravado that only a fully subdued subject can have, he was loudly and indignantly declaring his innocence and his objections to the situation in which he found himself. It was all over quite quickly, but what I found to be particularly fascinating was that the ETF dudes never let down their guard for a second, even after the suspect was safely locked in the back of a cruiser. After they had all exited the building, they took up positions around their vehicles, standing motionless with their guns at the ready until the head ETF dude gave the final word that all was clear and got into his SUV, at which point they all piled into their vehicles and drove off. And off I drove too, feeling that tired yet proud satisfaction of a mission well accomplished, knowing that they couldn't have done it without me. Hey, it's Josh. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you could consider doing one of the following things, I would appreciate it. Give me a thumb up, subscribe to my channel. If you've already subscribed, hit that notification bell, or share the link to the video with somebody who you think would enjoy it. Is my sound actually on this time? Microphone on switch. This isn't actually the correct thing to read. Jeepers. Can I make this wider? Can I make this easier to read? For my old ancient eyeballs. Anyhow, this one... page width. But that we needn't worry about him getting text width? Is there a text width option? And naturally, anyone in the... Yeesh. No. No. He was an 18-year-old little wee... Oh my god.